Mexico City, struggling now to provide water for 20 million people. It's predicted to grow by another 10 million in the next decade. Just where the water will come from remains an open question. Originally built on a system of 5 lakes, Mexico City began its history rich in water. The Aztecs once farmed floating fields along these canals. This is all that remains of those lakes. Today, 3/4 of Mexico City's population enjoys modern plumbing and plenty of water for drinking, showers, and sanitation. But in these sprawling shanty towns, migrants from rural areas lack water for even the most basic human needs.
Mexico City faces one of the most difficult challenges of any urban area in the world with regard to water. 18 to 20 million people living in a very, very densely populated area. The next best new source of water is 1,000 meters below the city. They're very dependent on groundwater and already overpumping that groundwater on the order of 50 to 80%.
The city's ancient Metropolitan Cathedral is sinking because of the overpumping. Built after the Spanish conquest in the 16th century, the structure sags dramatically on one side. Wires, joists, metal clamps all support the weakened structure. Some sections of the city are sinking 12 inches a year. One-quarter of Mexico City's water must be pumped in from 100 miles away. With antiquated pipes damaged by subsidence and earthquakes, the city loses almost 1/3 of its water to leaks. This is a common problem around the world for cities with aging pipes. Mexico City still celebrates its long love affair with water. But there's a terrible irony in the way rich and poor people get their water. For the well-to-do, piped-in water is cheap and plentiful. For the poor, water is very expensive and hard to come by.
Mexico City has a growing population. A lot of people are coming in from outside to the city, and for the city it's very difficult to provide them with services. In the areas where people don't get much of the water supply, which is the poorer part of the population, they get the water through water trucks that come in bucket by bucket, which is very expensive. Sometimes they have to pay one of the quarter amount of what they earn a day for this water.
In this new district, residents were promised piped-in water by local politicians. But so far, they have received no services. Like many of her neighbors, Guadelupe Sanchez Lopez is forced to store her family's water supply in rain barrels. She lives with her children in a 2-room house with no running water. Unconnected to any sewer, the toilet represents a hope for the future. It sits over a hole in the ground. For 2 barrels of water from a local company, Sanchez pays 5 pesos, a quarter of her family's income of $4 a day.
¿Cuánto le dejas? 5 pesos. Pues problemas tenemos con el agua de que no tenemos a veces. Y cuando tenemos necesitamos dinero para comprar un tambo de agua o dos. No tenemos a veces. Y cuando se dañan del estómago, les agarra diarrhea.
Sí, la ficha número 2.
Pero ahorita.
El problema principal en la falta de agua y en la adecuada distribución del agua principalmente es problemas gastrointestinales y básicamente problemas de salud en general.
Young children are at the greatest risk. Child mortality here is 10 times higher than in wealthy sections of the city. And just down the street, sewage and industrial wastes run raw in one of Mexico City's main canals, a common problem in many parts of the developing world. Following a recent outbreak of cholera that claimed lives all over Latin America, Mexico City launched a campaign urging people to boil their drinking water and to wash their hands after going to the bathroom. 80% of illnesses in developing countries can be traced to unsafe water and poor sanitation.
Over 1 billion people in the world don't have access even to basic drinking water and sanitation requirements. Many of these countries are growing in population very, very fast. Many African countries, Middle Eastern countries, their population will double within a generation. So supplying water to meet the drinking water needs, the food needs, the industrial needs of a population growing that fast is extremely difficult. And many of these countries are already water short.
The nations of the Middle East are already hitting the limits of their renewable water supplies. With populations predicted to double in 30 years, the Israelis, Jordanians, and Palestinians will have only enough water for urban and industrial use, with little fresh water to grow food. These peoples realize that if they don't cooperate to share their limited water resources, it may mean war. Israel has had long-running disputes with Jordan, Syria, and Lebanon over water rights. Hostilities between the Israelis and the Palestinians over land have run high for decades. But less well known is the fact that Israel draws 1/4 of its water from the occupied territories. Resolving water disputes will require not only diplomacy, but new technologies that can make the most of the region's limited supply. Israel is building hundreds of apartment blocks to accommodate a large influx of immigrants from the former Soviet Union. 700,000 people in 3 years. To meet its growing needs, Israel is depending more and more on recycled water.
We recycle and reuse our dirty shirts. We launder them. You have to learn how to launder water.
As more fresh water is diverted to cities, recycled water is the only source that actually grows with population. It's the shadow of the supply. Israel now recycles 2/3 of its water. This facility handles the wastewater of 7 cities. Reclaimed water gets used in cooling and sanitation systems. Though not intended for human consumption, the final product does meet drinking water standards. Recycled water is also piped south to irrigate crops.
Now, at first, farmers are usually pretty conservative. But as time went on, and particularly during the drought in 1991, wastewater became a very sought-after resort. Why? Because when the sweetwater sources were in short supply, the wastewater was there, and the farmers were clamoring to connect up to the wastewater reuse project.